Canada's retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. are set to take effect on September 8th. Joining us now, Chrystia Freeland, our old friend, Canada's former Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. She's currently the CEO of the Rhodes Trust, and this October she's out with a new book, Unreliable Boyfriend, an insider's view of dealing with a chaotic superpower, plutocrats, and other complicated people. We got a lot of questions to ask you, Chrystia. I want to just ask you about the overall state of the Canadian economy, too, and China and everything else. But do you know what happened when the talks broke down? Because President Trump seemed to sort of admit that he made some last-minute demands that kind of scuttled the deal. Do you know what actually went on?
I think, so great to be with you, Joe. And yeah. I think that Prime Minister Carney has been really clear about what happened. As he put it, the U.S. asked too much and gave too little. And he said that at the last minute, extreme demands emerged, touching on Canadian sovereignty, touching on cultural protection, which is important in general and particularly important for Quebec and for Francophone Canadians. So, and, the thing I really want to say, Joe, is there are so many problems in the world. China is a real problem. I'm just back from Ukraine late last night. Russia is a huge problem. Iran is a huge problem. At a time when dictatorships are on the march, it is absolutely nuts for the United States to be picking a fight with a country that has always been its really good friend. And we currently have a trade deal that Canada negotiated. I was the lead negotiator with Donald Trump himself. I think this is the last thing America needs. It's the last thing the world needs. And I think it's a real shame.
Well, it's really the last thing Canada needs more than anything, Chrystia. And I know that it's kind of a badge of honor that Carney over in Davos talked about cozying up with China and a new world order. I don't know how you do that with one of the most repressive regimes in terms of human rights in the world. Here's just look at this, and this is shocking to me. GDP growth in Canada over the last 10 years, you're dead last, basically, with OECD countries. You're at 0.5%. The United States was 20.7%. I think we can look at this. I mean, dead last. And it's not just the last 10 years. The OECD it's not going to get any better. It's going to get much worse. Between 2020 and 2030, you're dead last, projected to be, out of the OECD's 38 members, tied with Italy at 46% below the OECD average. And then the next 30 years after that, dead last again. What went wrong? I mean, you know the inner workings of Canada. Is it, is it regulation? Is it permitting? Is it high taxes? Is it the Canadian people deserve to have a better standard of living? It shouldn't be going down over a 10-year period.
Joe, before answering that question, which I want to do, I just want to pick up on something you said about China, because I want to be very clear about my own view. I am a China hawk. As I said, I've just come back from Ukraine, and China is strongly supporting Russia in that illegal, criminal, unjustified war. And, I agree with your concerns about China. And what I would say to Americans is, if you want the free world to support you in taking on autocrats like China, like Russia, countries that actually do break trade rules, then treat your allies like partners. Don't treat them like vassals who have to be subdued. No Canadian leader wants to be the Delcy Rodriguez of the North. On the Canadian economy, I actually am very bullish about the long-term prospects for the Canadian economy. Canada has the resources that the world needs. When I was finance minister, the government actually built a pipeline to the West Coast that diversifies our market access. Prime Minister Carney has said he wants to build another one. Canada has potash, which the world urgently needs right now. Canada has a lot of natural gas. And Canada has some real advantages when it comes to the digital economy. The U.S. and China clearly dominate AI. But Cohere, a Canadian company, is one of the very few that you mention in that space. Canada is very strong in quantum computing as well. And, this trade war, it's going to hurt Canada. Canadians know that. The government has been very clear about it. But Canadians are prepared to take that pain because our sovereignty is worth it. And it's not just Mark Carney who is saying that. Stephen Harper, the former Conservative Prime Minister of Canada, said very clearly that Canada, and this was last year as the threats first mounted, he said Canada should be prepared to endure any amount of economic harm to defend our sovereignty. 75% of Canadians agree with that.
I wish I'm going to sound like Rodney King. I just wish we could all just get along. Is there anything that the United States was chafing with? There's nothing in the Trump administration, none of the points that they're making about how the reciprocal relationship with Canada is being conducted right now. There's nothing that can be improved. It seems like we got close to getting some concessions from Canada. It's not all the United States. I just think it's in Canada's best interest also. I know you're a proud nation and sovereignty and all the things that you said, but this is the last thing you need with the way things have been going for the past decade and projected to go right now.
I think a win-win economic relationship between Canada and the United States is absolutely possible. And I'm really proud to have led the renegotiation of NAFTA, to have achieved a deal that Donald Trump said was the best trade deal ever, that Sherrod Brown voted for, that Nancy Pelosi supported. I think up until this fight, which the president began before he was even inaugurated on his second term, we had a great relationship, a great economic relationship. And I think it's one, of course, that could always be improved, that could always be expanded. I personally would love to see an alliance of the world's democracies to really take on China and to take on China's unfair trade practices. I think the president has a point. I think they have really hurt American middle-class workers and Canadian middle-class workers too. But, for me, the tragedy is instead of taking this opportunity to build that kind of alliance, the president is pushing countries that want to be America's friend into the arms of China.